Welcome to the J. Will Podcast. This podcast is for informational purposes and should not be considered a legal, health, or tax advice of any kind. If you would like to donate to the J. Will Podcast, locate the donate feature on the rss.com homepage or via Cash App at $J. Will Podcast. Now, here's your host, J. Will.
What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy J. Will, your host of the J. Will Podcast. Thanks for being locked in. I got a very special guest on tonight. But first, if you have not done so already, go to your Play Store on your phone. It's free. And download the Live 365 app. The Live 365 app. And when you get there, type in J. Will Gospel Radio. You can listen to gospel music 24/7, 7 days a week. From artists from all over the planet. And hit me up at LeeWillTheletterJ@gmail.com if you have any questions about that. Also, if you love strong coffee, go to strongcoffeecompany.com and use the promo code JWillPodcast and receive a 20% discount on all your purchases. All right, ladies and gentlemen, homies and homettes, I have a very special guest with me today. And none other than Dr. Veryl Howard. How are you, ma'am?
I'm so glad to be here with you today. I'm amped up. I heard you were going to ask me some deep questions. So I'm excited to be here with you today.
Well, the subject matter of your literature kind of warrants me to dig a little deep.
It does.
Yes, ma'am. But we'll get to that in just a second. But ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, type them in the chat box and I will see them. And if your question is groovy, I'm telling my age, if it's okay, I'll ask you, I will ask your question. But we're not doing crazy stuff. We're here to talk about the accomplishments of this young lady. And so that's that. All right. So Dr. Howard, where are you from?
I'm from Washington, D.C.
D.C.
Yes. It used to be the chocolate city. We ain't chocolate no more.
Yeah. It's Heinz 57 up there now, huh?
It's Heinz 57 up here.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm born and raised here. And, I love my place. I love D.C. I guess, my family's here. I left for a while. I was pastoring in Fayetteville, North Carolina for 8 years. Vietnam. And then I came back to D.C., but it seemed like I was gone ever since I left. I went to college, but I'm back now.
All right. Yeah, I got family in the Philly and Washington area.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I got folks everywhere. It's
and Philly just right up. That's just right up the road. Right. That's my home.
Yeah, I know, right? And I'm down here in Cincinnati, and so every now and then I come to Philly, visit my folks. So I see you go by doctor. What is your doctorate in?
Wow. Well, actually, it's like Dr. Apostle Ambassador.
Yeah.
You can pick a title.
I know, right?
You can pick a title. Well, I did a lot. I mean, I went to school to study to be an actual eye doctor.
Oh, really?
And I got, my dad got very, very sick in the process. And I kind of got into ministry and shifted gears a little bit from medicine to more ministry and went back to school. And then I got my doctorates in ministry. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I got three doctorates. And then I got my master's degree in it's like physiological. No, wait a minute. Let me stop. Undergrad, biology, chemistry, master's degree, administration and supervision, another master's degree equivalent, like physiological optics, like of the eyes.
Yeah.
And then went back. And then after the medical school training, I went back and got the degrees in ministry because I was not into the Lord when I was studying to be a doctor. I got a
Okay.
calling. I got a calling into that after what you would consider to be our internship. And that's when I got saved and everything, and I kind of shift gears.
Okay. Okay. Hey, it's nothing wrong with that. I'm medical myself. Um,
Okay.
I don't, of course, I don't have a doctrine, um, but I understand. My mother was a registered nurse,
Oh,
and
wow.
I worked about 18 years as a surgical technologist.
Mm-hmm.
So I was helping the optometrist do the blepharoplasties and cataract surgeries, and all that kind of stuff, among other things that I did as a surgical tech.
We
But
got
this
a
is
lot in common
well,
because while I was in school, I became also, I was studying to be an eye doctor. I became a licensed corneal transplant technician.
oh
And
yeah,
so I used to work in morgues and hospitals removing eyes while I was in school. That was another, I don't want to call it a side hustle, but during that time, I made like $115 just to take out two eyes. I could do it in 15 minutes and put it on ice and prepare it and everything else after we tested the eyes to make sure there was no disease in the eyes. And then I throw a sheet over my patients with two holes and get into cutting the corneas out.
yeah, yeah. You probably would have seen someone like me in there, because we had to set up the room for the transplant, for the harvest team to come in.
Wow.
And so I was the guy, you know, passing along the instruments to the people that were doing um, the harvesting. So yeah, it's pretty
Wow.
cool. Yeah. So, um, so you kind of left medicine and ended up in with theological training. Ended up with degree in theology. And so, what has I know that all the degrees you have is very great, but what separates your theological degrees from your circular degrees?
Well, they're not separate. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
With respect to the theological degrees, it has given me the insight and the backstory to the secular degrees. For example, if somebody has diabetes, right, I can have a sense where I can kind of smell diabetes on people. I can smell cancer on people. I can smell lupus. There's certain things God has given me a gift to be able to smell sicknesses. But the theological portion gives me the insight as to how to pray for the sickness once I'm able to identify the sickness.
Yeah.
And so they work hand in hand. And I think the secular, all that training, I'm not even, I mean, I just told you some degrees. I'm also a licensed paleontologist, and I worked in Mexico digging up fossils out the late Cenozoic era. And my work is in a museum called Museum de Chapultepec in La Ciudad de Mexico.
Oh,
So that's another degree. I tried to spare you of all my degrees,
yeah.
but but yeah, so all this stuff I call set up where God has me now. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
the discipline came from being, studying to be a doctor, being in medical school, the optometry training, all of that. The extra knowledge came from the licensed corneal transplant technician. Then the paleontology, I started growing spiritually because by that time I had gotten saved, or I was on my way to being saved. And so I started understanding I was digging in territory I wasn't supposed to dig in, you know. So it kind of all works together. I'll be on a bus or something, I'll be looking at somebody, and I'm like, she got epicanthal fold. So I'll start praying for her epicanthal fold. That's when the eyes kind of do
Yeah.
like that. Or I may say, she's got ptosis. He's got ptosis. I mean, I've seen pastors with ptosis who don't even know they got ptosis. And I'll start praying for those cranial nerves that have shut that eye down. And one pastor came up to me, he had Bell's palsy. And so I started praying for cranial nerve 3. So I'm able to pull that wisdom. I'm talking about all them years of training, 8 years, it's deep down inside of me. So I'm able to pull that training and make it usable with respect to the spiritual wisdom and knowledge from getting the doctorates in theology, you know.
Yeah. So I think it'd be safe to say that you were born with a gift, but your advanced studies help you cultivate and understand the natural and translate it to the spiritual. And now God has prospered you to be a seer and an intercessor. Is that a safe assumption?
You know what? You couldn't have said that any better. I'm serious. You could not have relayed that any better. The thing is though, my parents from a very young age nurtured the scientific gift
Hmm.
because my dad was the first black man to get his master's degrees at AU in physical chemistry. That's why I got a little tongue tied earlier.
Yeah.
And he went to dental school. So when I was a little girl, I had anatomical dolls, I had the doctor's sets, I even had my dad's teeth set, you know, that he used, his instruments. I had all of that. So that was a part of nurturing that side of me, you see. And then later on, you know, I went through some trials and this and that, and I had different people that were in my life who helped nurture the spiritual side. And so when it was time to shift from one side to the next, I still had all of that that was inbred and imparted in me from a little girl. Matter of fact, my eye doctor, I was born with exophthalmia. You see, I'm gonna talk medical with you since you said we're
Yeah.
gonna
Let's
talk
go.
medical.
Let's
So I
go.
was born with exophthalmia. You know what exophthalmia is?
Not exactly.
Okay, exophthalmia is when one eye swings, the eyes swing a different way. And the reason why the eyes swing a different way, like that, if they swing side to side, you know, one's over here and other one's over, is because we have these muscles called medial and lateral muscle.
Right.
And if one of those muscles is weak and it's not properly pulling, and then you have the superior and the inferior obliques who rotate it. So if these muscles are not properly working, then you get what is called a lazy eye, or which is exophthalmia. And
Okay.
so when I was a little girl, I had that, and I wore bifocals. So my doctor, who was a Jewish doctor, left me his practice, and they were not happy when I went from wanting to be a doctor and shifting and going into ministry.
Yeah. I mean, but he probably couldn't really comprehend that part of it. I mean, was he Orthodox Jewish or was he a Christian Jew? Because that
I
makes a
think he was an
difference.
Orthodox. I think he was an Orthodox Jew.
Yeah.
But
So that
my parent,
he wouldn't understand why you would make that transition.
yeah, 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 you're absolutely right. But he set me up for the practice, and I just, you know, I got saved in the interim, and after getting saved and everything, I said, there's a whole, I'm going a whole nother direction. And my mother and father, you know, they were all these years in school, all those loans, all that money we spent, and you gonna go ahead and go another direction. And then as time materialized and my mom started traveling with me all over the globe, she's like, I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that certain things set us up for the final destined, predestined path that God has for us. But it takes a person with uh, discipline, but it also takes a person that's willing to fall subject to the Spirit in order to follow that path, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not really an easy path as most people think. All the labor pains that one has to go through to get to the semi end result. The end result won't be until he crack the sky, but the semi
Right.
end result, um, it's a lot of growing pains. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of you know people coming at you saying this, that, and the other. Um, but I commend you on being able to adhere to God's calling on your life, um, which has led us. How many books have you written?
I've been a part of about seven. The last one I wrote wholeheartedly by myself was Spencer telling the Highway QC's book, A General Becomes a Legend.
Hmm.
And that book, I sat down with him and interviewed him and took papers that had been compiled by another gentleman and sat and wrote his book. And then I was a part of a book called Prayer Changes Everything. And I was a part of another book called Girl, Get Up and Win. Then I wrote another book called Um, God Hears a Teacher's Cry. It was a book about warfare in the classroom. Then I wrote another book called God Is My Ticket Out the Ghetto. Then I helped. I mean, it's been so many books. My mom, before she passed, the young lady who wrote the foreword for my book, I had her come because I didn't want to be the one to sit down and do my mom's book by myself. So
Sure.
I had her come and orchestrate and interview my mom. So I put my mom's book together. So maybe I've been a part of 8, but it's a lot,
Yeah.
a
So
lot of them.
what inspired you to want to write?
To be honest with you, I didn't know I was a writer. I just one day realized I just love writing poems, and I've been writing poems since I was a child. And then I started writing romance. And so I was talking to my mother, who was a writer. My mom's deceased now. My mom wrote children literature books, and she sat on a committee that helped decide what books would go into the educational arena. She was a smart cookie. And so when I started writing so much, I went to her. She said, Veryl, you've been writing since you were 5. I was
Wow.
like, what? She said, yeah, you've been writing since you were 5. And I was like, I didn't know I had that gift. She said, yeah, you've had that gift from a little girl. So my mother was my editor, and she nurtured me and she guided me because her area of expertise, while mine was science, mine was not English. It was not grammar. And so she guided me, and she used to be the editor of all my work. And she's now passed, but she was very instrumental in pushing me to write. So I would have to say the influences came from her, and then her telling me I had a gift from a little girl at the age of 5.
That's pretty awesome. That is really awesome. So I want to talk about your publication right now, your latest book, and I'm gonna put this up and give the people an opportunity, a chance to see this. God, please wake up my Adam. He's in a coma. God, please wake up my Adam. He's in a coma. Those of you that have, I'll put this up a little bit later, but you can scan the QR code and go to it. And there's a couple of phone numbers. There's a phone number down there, and you can get this book on Amazon. But I'll let Dr. Howard tell you this. So this is a very deep subject here.
Yeah.
God, when did you receive the when did you receive the anointing to write this book?
In the wee hours, praying to God and asking God, what on earth is going on with this lack of covenantal relationships and marriages with a lot of these awesome, beautiful women and men I know? And I'm always talking to single women who got it going on, and they're just questioning, when is my man come? When does my man come? So the Lord has had me intercede on behalf of singles for a long time. So like Christmas comes, I'm praying for singles. Valentine's Day comes, I'm praying for singles. Weddings come, I'm praying for singles. Thanksgiving come, I'm praying for singles. And the Lord had me stretched out, interceding on behalf of them. Then inadvertently, I'm over 55 and I'm single. And I said, well, God, I'm a decent looking woman. I got good credit. I got a decent job. I got my own house. What is going on? And so I was interceding on behalf of singles, and I was just crying out. And the Lord said, go to Genesis 2. And I went to Genesis 2, and God was showing me how he told me, and I'm going to put you to sleep and make you help me. And this was after man had labeled everything, the dogs, the trees, the cats, the bees. And he put them to sleep, and he said, I'm going to pull her from your side. And after he pulled her from the side, man woke up, and he said, you're bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. You shall be called woman. And he gave her the instructions. Now, let's back it up. On the cover of my book, the man looks like he's trying to wake up out of a coma. He's in between being woke and being asleep. And so in some instances, and he's not of any particular color, because I wanted it to be multicultural.
Yeah.
So he's in between the two states. And that's because some men woke up and then still became comatose. They
Whoa.
came comatose. Yeah. They came comatose by a seducing spirit. They came comatose by a Jezebel spirit. They became comatose by a Delilah spirit that tried to strip them of their strength. They can all these things God started breaking down to me. And so he said, start praying and interceding on behalf of these men in which the enemy has tried to put a mask on, has tried to deceive them so they could come out of any bondage or anything they may be in that they don't know that they're in. Because the Bible says, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain a favor. So some of these women are hidden because of the scales. Because I've seen what I call thirsty women. If it's a single man, he in a church, because they so far and few between. I've seen thirsty women just throw it all out there and do whatever to get that man, but that man may not be the man that God ordained for him to be with, for her to be with. So then they get together for whatever reason, could be lust, whatever it could be. Now you got a soul tie. So now he's bound by this and he's blinded as to who he's really supposed to be with. So the Lord told me to start calling these men forth and interceding on behalf of them. And then with the women, interceding that they would get themselves in place too. They would become detoxed. They would get rid of all old soul ties. They would clean up their credit, clean up everything, and be like Esther. Esther didn't have to be dipped like the other virgins. Her dipping was minimized before she was presented before the king. So the book also examines whether or not the woman is in her rightful position to be ready for her king.
Wow. So so I got to go back. Let's go back to Genesis, okay? Because this is that's really, I'm trying to put this in the right words. While he was asleep, okay? So God put him to sleep, and then he took the rib. But
And
you're,
form woman.
yeah, to form woman. But you're saying that some of the guys are still asleep.
They woke up. But I'm saying those dark forces.
Keeps us
Oh,
asleep. Or
yes.
keeps them asleep because I'm awake.
Yes. Yeah. So you awake. You don't fit in that category.
Yeah, I don't fit in that
Those
category.
those dark forces keep them come in a spiritual, like a spiritual coma. You know what I mean?
Yes,
That's why I
yes.
see you gotta go a little bit deeper for the revelation with the book. It's a spirit, it's like a spiritual coma, and it's in the way of them being able to see that bone that belongs to them and that flesh that belongs to them. And I'm not telling them go look for Eve. Adam, he messed up with Eve, the first Adam, but God came as a second. So Adam is typology for man. I'm not saying look for another Eve. That's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying it's typology for the man. Because my cousin said to me, he said, I like your book so much. He said, there's some good men out here that are looking for their women. He said, I want you to write a book saying, Eve, wake up. And I said, no, we don't want Eve to wake. We don't want to call Eve forth because Eve was the one who caused man to fall. That's not what we want. If anything, we want reformed women,
Yeah.
transformed women, detox women, cleansed women, holy women, righteous women, that are not going to cause their man to fall or lead their man into sin. And then he partake into that. That's not what we're trying to call forth. And so with the men now, we want them to wake up and see, oh, that's my rib walking around over there. And we don't want it to be a situation where while he got comatose, The woman wasn't just sitting there twiddling her thumbs. She was growing in the things of the Lord. She was growing in her business. She was growing in her finances. She was growing in this, growing in that. And sometimes, as soon as they wake up, sometimes it's intimidating. So then God has to prepare him for all of that. That is the asset to the vision that God has given the man. I didn't say the woman, the man, to walk together and fulfill the purpose that God will have for them as a unit.
Wow. Yeah, look, this is impactful. I mean, I never really looked at it this way, uh, but I understand exactly what you're saying. And we need a Romans chapter 12 relationship. Somebody need to be transformed by the renewing of their minds around this place.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you live in society just like I do. I don't live on an island. Sometimes I wish I did. That way, I wouldn't have to fool with all this buffoonery that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a whole lot of stuff going on, and a whole lot of people are being pulled away from God. And
Mm-hmm.
now, if you look at society today, people are not really getting married. They're not really looking for an Adam. You know, so in this regards, what do you say to the people who are not really looking for Adam? The women who are not really looking for Adam, they just happy doing what they do. Because I think God ordained the
He does.
marriage.
He
So
does.
what do you say to those people who are, I don't need a man?
That's in my book. A lot of times, that's in my book, exactly that statement. I don't need a man. That's part of a cycle. A lot of times, after some bad relationships or relationships that left somebody emotionally distraught, and doing this over and over and over again, and being attracted to familiar spirits that don't have the best interest for you, but it's something familiar that you're used to. You've been there. You dated that before. You went. It jacked you up the first time. Why you keep going back and going back? And so sometimes, as a rebound to stay strong, women will say, "Well, I just don't need a man. I'm just gonna do me, and I'm good." I mean, I said that at one point, but I was lying to myself. That
Mm,
was me trying to protect my space, because I had been so abused and I thought I was a good woman, and my emotions had been raped. I'm just being honest with you. So I went to the other side of the Richter scale and I said, you know what? I don't need a man. And then God said to me, I did not make you to be a nun. I did not make you to be a eunuch. I put real desires inside of you. So get off that high horse. And so I had to pray and ask God to bring my emotions back around to 7. 7 is where the alkaline level starts, because I was acidic. And a lot of women become acidic and toxic only because they've been through so many bad relationships. And so then they just, okay, it's easier for me to be by myself. The devil is a liar, because that's a trick of the enemy, trying to keep from the covenantal relationships in these marriages to happen. And then because of women that think like that, a lot of women have adopted the mentality of a man in the church and out the church.
mm,
I ain't letting you hurt me. So hurt you before you hurt me. I mean, it's in the church and out the church. I'm just saying.
it
And
is.
I'm not gonna be I've said myself, Jay, I'm not putting my heart out there to be cut up, diced up, flipped around with some steak sauce. No, 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 no. I've said that about my own self. And then God is like, listen, at some point you're gonna have to open up. You have to open up. You're gonna have to. If you really want to be with your Adam, you're gonna have to open up. And I'm like, God, look, I'm too old to be going through these emotional roller coasters and trips and this, that, and the other. So what I have done, I'm gonna be honest with you. I know I gotta open up, but I walk very cautiously.
Sure.
I walk very cautiously, and I'm not trying to deal with those same familiar spirits that I've dealt with in the past, because we all got a type, and the enemy knows what the type is. He knows what makes you smile. He knows what melts you like butter, all of that. But that may not be the best thing for you. So I pretty much have said, God, make my heart come back in the middle, and He did. I said, and now you're in control of this thing. I know what I like. I know what I want. You know what I like. You know what I want, but you know what's best for me.
And that's so powerful. A neutral pH is where we want to be. We don't want to have a high pH, or we don't want to have a low pH, because there's an imbalance in it. But to be neutral and to remain neutral, and allow God um, to work with you in your neutralness and being able to receive. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're too salty, you can't receive nothing.
Say that.
Everything is bitter.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is bitter. I mean, so I was looking um, in the dedication statement.
Okay.
It says, "My God has healed me through and through during every
Yes.
bad relationship and every step. I take. Let me scroll over. I take in life. Um, the men who meant loss for me and the gain for themselves
Mm-hmm.
because of you and God's healing.
Mm-hmm.
I had uh, the paper. Then you send your appreciation to some people who. So you were sending a salutation to the people who helped you
I was.
during your critical time. And so I ain't trying to dig in all your stuff, but there had to be some really strenuous times that you went through. And I know through the help of the Lord, you made it
Mm-hmm.
through it. But how key is it to have people in your circle that when you're going through challenging moments in life, how key is that having the right people around you at the right time?
That's very important because everybody can't be in your space when you're going through what you're going through. And then, especially with me being in ministry, sometimes, people expect you to be here, be perfect, be this, be that. Oh, Apostle don't have no problems, or Apostle doesn't, she doesn't get weak, she doesn't get tired, she doesn't cry, she doesn't get depressed, she doesn't grieve. They think like that. But you got to have some people around you who you can trust with you, who really going to have your best interests, who are going to really pray for you, going to intercede for you. I have some women of God that have been with me through some relationships. I'm just being honest because my life is like an open book. They know I'm living holy. They know that I might miss it just because I think it's good. For me, it may not be good for me. They may see something I don't see. But I have some people around me, very few, very, very few, that the Lord has allowed me to trust with some of the things that I have been through, and they've had to intercede on behalf of me, and that God would keep me and bring me out of situations because I've been down. You hear me? So you talking about you don't want to get up in my business. I just told you my life is an open book. Before I got saved, I was beat up. I was domestically um, messed up, by somebody I dated. I dated a pro football player, went to Super Bowl, and I thought that was my man. And he tore my tail up, and that's
Man,
just an example of something that I've been through. And in the church, I had a pastor tell me, he was trying to sleep with me because I'm holy. I'm celibate for real and been celibate. And I'm waiting for my mate. I don't want to be got all this junk in me and somebody else's scent and aroma on me, and I'm not holy. And I know a pastor who wanted to marry me. He told me, he said, "I'm gonna be straight up with you. If you don't give it to me soon, I ain't even gonna want it."
uh,
I said, "What you say?" And he's every time he saw me, chased me around. I said, "Listen, dude, I already told you that's not going down like that. I don't know what games you're playing, and I don't know who you're used to up in the body of Christ, but I'm not that chickable." He said, "Okay." And within about a month, homeboy went and married some other woman that was chasing him down. Because I wasn't gonna give it to him. And she was more than willing to do what I wouldn't do. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, that's
So
horrible.
yeah, it is horrible. It's unfortunate, but these type of things are going on right now in the body of Christ. And God got some folks out there that's still holy, still righteous, still want to do it the God way. The remnants of God. They trying to get over on nobody, not trying to hurt nobody. I've had men who were opportunists. They just wanted me because of my hookups, my connections. And then when I stopped the floodgate of the connections, then all of a sudden they started tripping with me. And DJ Will, I don't know if you're interviewing me for me to be fake and phony and thus saith the Lord, but I'm gonna keep stuff real with you because I want people to get delivered. I want people to get set free. I want cords to come off people, ropes to come off for people, people to get out of a pit, chains to come off for people. And you were talking about the salutation in the beginning of the book. Yeah, that was also a salutation to all the men that dragged me through the mud, because all things work together. You understand what I'm saying? Because there was a lot of them that I had to forgive. And I thank them because it pushed me and catapulted me to excel and to overcome. And then also to go through the emotions and things I went through so I could write that book.
And I wouldn't ask you to do anything other than be true to who you are. And we should not be saying one thing just so it sounds good and we think that's what people want to hear. I believe in my heart that true deliverance for people come through people who have gone through and is able to tell their testimony in such a way that you connect with that person that's going through the same thing that you're going through. And so
Yes.
they can have deliverance in their life. And
Yes.
and some men are opportunists, just
Mm-hmm.
like you said. And whenever you start putting stipulations on, I'll be with you if you do this, I'll be with you if you do this. First of all, that's manipulative.
It is.
And if you do it, it's no different than prostitution. And
Exactly.
when you're exchanging gifts and stuff like this for um, conjugalness or intimacy or just hanging out, going to the movies. I go to the movies with you if you cook me a hamburger. Wait a minute now. You ought to just want to go to the movies with me, period. I don't have to do something in order to get something.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the way love works.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. If you were thinking that, that's not the way love works. Love has to be a noun before it can be a verb. I'm
Mm,
sorry. It has to be who you are before you
mm,
can put it in action. And
mm.
we get this wrong, especially I've been in the church all my life. Um,
Wow.
and we get this wrong. We always say verb is the action, verb is the action. Yes, but before a train becomes a locomotive,
Huh.
it's sitting there as a train. It's not a locomotive until it starts moving. So the essence of it is still there. A car sitting there is a car. Once it starts moving, now it's an automobile. But you still have
Mm,
to have the car. In order for you to show love or be loving, then you have to be loved first. And this is how Christ is to us. Christ is love. That's why he
mm,
can give it away, because it's who it is. If you're a buzzard, you're gonna give that away. Try to manipulate.
mm.
So it ain't about me. Don't get me started, but you know, you're making me feel something over here. I'm telling you. So let's go to chapter 1.
Okay.
Uh, that's what's wrong with me syndrome.
Oh my.
You should have known I was going to ask this. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, please put them in the chat box. And if your questions are appropriate, I will ask them. There's a couple of people that said hello. Um,
Tell them to
there's
share. Share, share, share.
Yeah, share this because they don't want to miss this. Miss Anna said hello. How you doing, Miss Anna Stevenson?
Anna
How
wrote
you?
the forward.
Oh, hey, how you doing, Miss Anna? Great job on that, by the way. So let's talk about uh, the "What's Wrong with Me" syndrome. Explain that.
Well, I'm over 55. Okay. And you have a lot of women who are over the age of what people say you should get married at. They might be 35, 45, 48. And so they have had experiences of bad relationships. And in some cases, they were sweet as apple pie. They thought they were doing everything right. And some submitting more than they should submit because they're not even a wife yet. And then it doesn't work out. And so after a series of bad relationships, sometimes you start questioning yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with me? God, fix me up. Take out what needs to be taken out of me. Put in what needs to be put in me. If I don't have patience, then give me patience. If I'm prideful, then make me not be so prideful. Or whatever the situation is. If I need to be softer, Lord, make me be soft. If I'm combative, take combative away because fits of rage is not of God. And so sometimes you question yourself. I questioned myself several times. And I said, and I went to God and I said, listen, I don't need no delays. I don't need nothing keeping me from my man. I said, whatever you got to do to fix it, fix it. That was me and God talking
Yeah.
because I did ask him several times, and he assured me. He said, "Daughter, you are fearfully and you're wonderfully made." Because see, I dated some narcissists who were putting me down.
Ooh.
I dated some people who didn't appreciate me. I told them familiar spirits. I dated some people who minimized me or people who thought I wanted to compete with them because of the greatness that God has put on my life. I dated with those type of people who didn't look at that as an asset, but wanted to shut it down when God put all he put inside of me for the rib cage I came out of. And so with that, with them doing that, and all I wanted to do was to help. I mean, I was created to be a helpmeet. So all I wanted to do was to help and to be there and to pray for my man and love my man and everything else. But then there was that narcissistic behavior that just wanted to disrespect who I was. And so I started believing like God is something wrong with me. I got friends who are on grandchildren, great grandchildren. I got friends who got children in high school and college. I'm like, Lord, what on earth is going on? And so this is in my book too. That's a question a lot of women ask themselves. And then if they ponder that too long, the enemy will play tricks on them and they'll start thinking they're not worth it. They'll start questioning their self-worth.
So do you think it's narcissism combined with inferiority complex?
Yes.
I mean, I mean, as you were talking, that's what you described to me because people who feel inferior will attempt to put other people down to make themselves feel better.
Yes. You hit it on the nail. Yes.
And so, look, I'm happy I have a smart wife. You know, my wife is a nurse with a bachelor's degree, and I'm happy for that. You know, it's nice to be able to have an intellectual conversation. And so what if she's smarter than me?
Wow.
She compliments me, but
Wow.
I have areas that I'm smarter than her. Like
Mm-hmm.
she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't play organ, I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? She doesn't write music, I do. You know, but we have our own areas, and when we come together, we can make this thing pop. But no, by no means am I, you know, as a man that's looking for a good woman, you know, want to develop an inferiority complex
Mm-hmm.
and behave in narcissism in order to make me feel better about myself. I mean, this is horrible.
I've been through that a lot. And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've been told that I'm too strong. I'm like, well, dang.
What's too strong? What does that
I
mean?
wanted to know. I'm a prayer warrior. What? I mean,
What I mean, do they want some woman to just grab them by the back of the hair and just drag them to the cave? Is that what they're looking for? Come on, man.
I don't know. I was told that by a gentleman who I thought was perfect for me. And he was like, "You just strong." And I'm like, "Well, wait, are you I'm not a Jezebel, but you acting like an Ahab." But I can't help it is that I've been out here by myself. I've been out here surviving. I've been out here warring in the spirit by myself. I've been out here without my natural covering, my natural protection. It's been me and God. There's some battles I've had, some scars that God healed. I said, I'm because I'm strong spiritually. Who wants a woman that is not going to pray for them? I mean, what believer, what man does not want to, what man does not want a woman that if he was to go down, she could still help hold the fort together. Everything just won't crumble. She'll get out and she'll work and pick up the pieces and do what she has to do. As a Proverbs 31 woman, she went to the marketplace and she was layered in fine linen. And while her family was back at home, homegirl was doing business deals and then came back and still took care of the family.
Yeah.
So what man would not want that? But that familiar spirit, I would run into the narcissist. They would want to control me, beat me down. It got so bad that I would fake like I wasn't successful. I would act like
Wow.
a dumb blonde.
Oh man.
I'm serious. Even as an apostle, I would just very much minimize myself and say, you know what? If I know the Bible too much, if I talk about my degrees too much, if I do this, so I just, minimize me, wouldn't even share, success stories because being afraid that it was going to seem like I'm trying to be bigger than the man when that's not the case. And like you said about your wife, you're happy she's smart. That's your boo. That's your asset. That's your rib. That was the missing piece
Yeah.
that God, that's why y'all got all these different gifts and talents and this and that, because she's the other portion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but it happens. And I have other girlfriends who have said the same thing. And these are very, very successful women. And check this out. The sad part is because I am an apostle, I ain't trying to do all that when I get married up in the house with my husband. I'm trying to submit. I'm trying to do what the Bible says. Husband, love your wives as Christ of the church. Wife, submit to your husband. I'm not trying to be all apostleship, all that stuff up in the house and stuff with my man. Our quiet time together and all of that. And seeing some of their ideology because of that title and these doctor titles and all this other stuff, it already takes them to a place where they feel inferior.
You know, I think that, when my wife and I got married, because it was two intellectual people coming together, we had to allow God to process us through a balance. And I think that, you know, intellectual female and intellectual male can, cohabitate together, but you have to learn each other and create a balance. I don't think you should minimize or should have to minimize who you are, even it being an apostle. I don't. That's an asset to me because you have the same strength that I have to fight against this demonic warfare.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, I know you've gone through a lot, but I'm wondering why or if society has pushed women in general into believing in the mentioned statement of I'm too fat, I'm too short, I'm too
Yeah.
light, I'm too smart. Do you think it's just a the male persuasions pushing women to think like this, or society in general now? And now it has us all thinking this way because when we look at people who model, they're all this one type. And people, if you're listening, I wanna warn you about all these pseudoistical people that you're looking at online. These people
Mm-hmm.
aren't real. They
Mm-hmm.
Photoshop some of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're sit back doing a comparison contrast of what you have at home compared to what your eyes is making
Mm-hmm.
you see on this video, and it's fake. And so, to me, society has pushed us farther and farther into this. What do you think about that?
I agree. I think that society makes us want to be like Barbie and Ken. Uh, I do model. I'm considered a fat girl model or a plus size model. And models are normally, and a woman will understand this if she's watching me right now, models are usually sizes 0 to 4. And a plus size is anything from a 6 higher. So when I do model, I have to be like a 8, like a 8, 8, 10, but not any bigger than that. And for many years, if I went over a 10, I felt like I was fat or pudgy or on my way to being fat. And I've always been very athletic, always worked out, always tried to stay in shape because of that societal pressure that is on us. Now, I do it for great health, but then there are aesthetics that, I definitely want as well. And I think not only have we been brainwashed with that pseudo person or pseudo persona, men have been brainwashed with the age thing too. Because, yeah, hospice wives, and that's in my book. I know men that have liked me, and we were almost the same age, but I was too old for them. They didn't care how much I had going on or anything like that. And because they were looking for somebody 25 years older, somebody who could take care of them
Yeah.
when they got up a certain age, and they call them hospice wives. But I want to serve these men notice that nowadays people dropping like it's flies, whether it's 30, 40, 25. There is no differentiation with that spirit of death. When that spirit of death comes, that spirit of death comes. So, this hospice wife mentality, that's a lot of stuff that we emulate from what we have seen on TV. We'll see these male directors and their wives will be 18. We'll see, I mean, the stuff that you
Yeah,
said that
yeah.
we see, so we patternise ourselves behind how society shapes and molds our brain. Instead of, as believers, trying to be with who we can do kingdom business with, who we can tear the spirit of darkness down with, who we can pray with, who we can warn a spirit with, who I can touch and agree with, and we watch God do all types of miracles up in our lives. You know what I'm saying? That thing has not become priority anymore in the body of Christ, because the mindset of the world has infiltrated so much into the believers until we mimic, like you said, society. And the Bible says, compare yourself to no man. So we compare ourselves to the world, and we let the world dictate to us how we're going to be. They set the patterns.
I was trying not to laugh, but you said hospice wife, and I was like, where's she going with this? And then once you explained, I was like, oh my God, is that what?
That's a hospice wife.
Is that what Bill Belichick was doing? He got out of my hospice wife. Lord Jesus, I don't want no hospice wife. Look, I'm just saying.
Because the hospice wife will have a side man and be spending up all that older man's money. That's how that works.
Lord Jesus.
In the church and out the church. But a lot of men, I'm telling you, J. Will, I've been told, you're too old. And then we could be almost the same age. I'm like, are you serious? All this work I have done to keep myself cleansed, holy, sanctified, with the glory of God, not being polluted, excelling in the things of the Lord, so I can be meshed with my man. And then I run into some brothers that, you're too old.
So out of all that, and I know you're rooted and grounded in the Lord, and that's good. But sometimes hearing this stuff over and over again and repeating, not repeating a cycle, but just probably one cough drop away from going into another cycle that was just like the previous. What keeps you encouraged emotionally and spiritually?
Ooh, I try not to let certain things get in my spirit.
Ah,
And I'm very careful how long I harp and talk of certain things. Like, I don't want to be on the phone with anybody who's been lonely for 100 years and they thinking about going to have sex with somebody. That's not edifying to me. I got to go, because it's just certain things I can't have in my spirit.
right.
So I can stay like whole, and so I can stay, steadfast. I don't need to be around nobody who doesn't still hope for their man or hope for their woman, or has said that God can never do it or will never do it or whatever. I keep myself away from that type of negativity, because I don't want to go there. I've been there before. I've been there questioning God. Like, you must not go ever do this. I've done all of that. So all of that he delivered me from, I'm not trying to get that back in my spirit.
Yeah.
So I stay very prayerful. I fast. I try to read scriptures that inspire me, like Hannah, who was barren, Sarah, who got pregnant at an elder age. Let's see. There's different stories I try to read to motivate me.
Yeah.
Rebecca and Leah, things like that, because I don't want to go down that dark hole anymore. And I'm right at the brink of my breakthrough. And I know
Yeah.
that, because the Lord told me I had to do this book as a single woman. And he said, my man gonna claim me. He said, he told me, he said, you had to birth this as a single woman, because the stuff I write about in there, all that revelation, all those different emotions and things like that came straight from God downloading that stuff on me. If I had been married at this, see, I don't think married people really understand what single people, no disrespect to you, but married people right now don't understand the stuff that single people are going through at this hour. It's a whole different ball game than how it was even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's just different. I mean, the game is very much prevalent. The sanctification isn't there. The manipulation is there. The gigolos are there. The opportunists are there. And these are supposed to be people in the body of Christ. I mean, it's just a whole nother, focus. I have in my book about men ghosting you, MIA in you. I've had men ghost me. They'll have a great time with me. Then I don't hear from them. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Then I'll have no, they want to see me again. They go, I'm like, what are you doing in the time where you're not, with me?
Yeah, that's suspect right there.
Yeah, because it may be somebody else, maybe 4 or 5 of us, or 10 of us that you're entertaining. So it's just a different day now, and it's very hard. And I've been listening to men who have been crying out. I see a lot of IG. I saw a man, he was like, woman of God, where are you? He was like 40-something years old. He said, I just can't find you among the mix. Where are you? I've been looking for you, been searching for you. Well, so there are some men out here that won't settle. Right. And still want who God has for them. And this was a good looking man. He was a boxer and everything else. He was just crying out. And I'm sure 1,000 women probably responded because he already had a big fan base. But that wasn't what he was looking for. He was looking for the one that God had for him.
You have to surround yourself with people who aren't crazy, if you will. And I'm not picking on anybody that's got mental issues or anything like that. I mean, like behavior-wise. Mm-hmm. Because if you hang around that stuff long enough, you become just like one of those birds of a feather. And so you have to hang around people who are like-minded and kind of want the same thing, or else you become a product of the environment you associate yourself with. Mm-hmm. So I only hang around with people who have like-minded interests. I don't hang around drug dealers. I'm not dealing drugs. I don't use drugs. Why am I hanging out with these cats? I don't hang around with whoremongers and alcoholics. I hang around with other people. I hang around with guys who ride motorcycles. That's my group. Guys who bowl and guys who are musicians. And so I imagine, and it's been a while. It's been 11 years since I've been single. And during that time frame, I had to seclude and isolate myself so that I wouldn't be misguided or misled and get off into stuff that it would take me 15 years to get out of. And so I commend you for staying true to yourself and also true to the mission that God has you on. And I want to say this, men, I recommend that you get this book and read it. And so we can understand what it's like for somebody to be traumatized by your shenanigans. I think that, and I apologize on behalf of men, because sometimes, most of the times we don't try to understand what this does to the female. And then once we get involved with them, now we have to work with them to deprogram, and help get deliverance from the traumatic stuff that you guys have went through. And, men is the same way with men, but.
Yeah, this is why I ask God, get all of that out of me so I don't bring all of that into my next final situation, my husband, because I don't want to bring all that hurt. That's why I said I had to go from this side of the Richter scale all the way. I literally had to learn how to love, because I had shut all my emotions off. Done. I had gone to the state, you'll get this, when I used to work in gross anatomy, and when I used to take them eyes out of people, I had no emotions. I was a cold chick because I couldn't be super emotional and work on dead bodies all the time.
Right, right.
And so I had learned how to cut my emotions off. And I tell my friends that are very close friends of me, I tell Elder Tara, she's my assistant, and Prophetess Ann, I don't know if she's still on here or not, the one who wrote the forward. I tell them all the time, I said, when a man has got me to a point where I cut him off, it's hard to come back around. When I finally get there, because I'm like, boom, I've gone through everything to try to make this work and try to love the person or be there or whatever. But when you abuse me to a point where I can't, I'm just done. It's just hard for me to come back around. I don't come back around.
Yeah, and I get that. Sister Anna's still on here. She said that was good. Men need to read this book also. I see you, Sister Anna. Bishop Ernest E. Richard Jr. Said the company you keep, and that's facts. And I agree with that. So, when I was a surgical technologist, I had to develop a wall to block my emotions from becoming a disposition for me. And so I found a way to not be affected by other stuff, which is not always good.
It's not.
Because I'm extremely guarded. And if I say I'm done, then I'm done. And I get that. Only God can, and God's still working on me with that. Still working.
I don't want to miss it because I'm done. You know what I mean? Because I know even when you get married, you don't always agree, or maybe, but a husband or wife shouldn't treat their spouse the way that some of us have been treated.
Exactly.
But because, some of us have really been mishandled as the precious children of God. And I normally have a lot of patience. I don't know more. I don't have a lot of, I'm like, God, I just give it to him. I'm like, Lord, if this not it, shut it down.
Yeah.
That's my prayer. Just shut it down. Because in ministry, I've been at the point where I asked God, I said, people didn't know I was hurting. And I'm like, Lord, it's hard for me to minister to your people. I'm hurting in the inside. And you got me pouring out to these people, every week. When I was in my building every week, I'm like, but I'm hurting. And I said, God, I really need you to bring my heart back around. Bring my heart back around so I can love unconditionally. And especially when you're ready for me to love unconditionally for my husband. And I'm telling you, it has been the hands of God that has worked with me, because if I wasn't saved during some of those emotions, can I really be honest with you, Jay?
Oh, Jesus. Go ahead.
Well, you don't know. I'd have had 10 men. I had 10 at the same time. If I was, no, really, no, I'm just being honest with you. If I wasn't saved after some of the stuff I've been through, I would have taken on that mentality of have 10 men and rotating them. Not sleeping with them, because I've never been a whore. But I'd have had 10 men that I would have been entertaining and not giving any emotions to none of them, because I know how to cut my emotions off, because I did it in medical school and I did it when I was a licensed corneal transplant technician. So I know how to be cold. And I used to, as a little girl, I forgot to tell you this, as a little girl, I was so fascinated with science and things. And my mom had a friend that owned a funeral home. And I used to think I wanted to be a funeral home director, because they were nurturing my little scientific gifts or whatever. So from a little girl, my mother would drop me off and leave me at the funeral home with the funeral home director.
Ooh, black people don't do ghosts.
Okay.
Dead people.
Okay, she would drop me off, and this is Black funeral director. And I remember, and this is how I started learning how to be cold. I remember one time she said, "Yeah, I have a little 4-year-old in the dining room. Go ahead, say hi to him. Go and check him out." Gone. And I was sitting there for like 5 minutes trying to figure out is he dead or alive? Because she talking about this child, like this child is, just back there playing around. And she said, go back there and check him out. And I went and I saw this 4-year-old boy in his suit in the casket. And I said, what have I got myself into? Because I thought I wanted to be a funeral home. And so then she told me, she said, I got a guy downstairs. He was riding this motorcycle and his head came off. He got cut by a wire. She said, go on down there and take a look at him. I'm going to fix him up. I said, no, I'm not doing that one. I said, that's a bit much for me. So when I used to deal with this woman, I had to, even as a little girl, because I was overly loving. My mother said I was overly loving and everything. But when I would go deal with her at that funeral home, I have to couldn't have no emotions. And then when it went on and kept going and proceeding and going to medical school and training to be a doctor and a cornea transplant technician stuff, I learned how to cold turkey shut it off. And so this is why when I've been, men have tried to abuse me as a saved woman, they have to be careful because I'll cut it right off. Yeah. And so instead of me cutting it off, I just said, God, you cut it off. If it's not for me, cut it off. Because I want to have love for my husband when it's the right time.
So if somebody wanted to book you to come speak at a women's conference, something like that, do you have a booking agent?
I don't have an agent.
So how can they? You have an email address you can shoot out there right quick so people can
contact? I have an assistant. They normally hit me up and they'll call and then they'll email a letter of invite. So the number they call is 910-644-1824. And then they email my name, Veryl 920 at AOL.com. And then I'll vet it. I'll vet the invite. And then after I vet the invite, and if I get a release, I turn it over to my assistant, Elder Tara. And then she'll take it from there. So, yes, by all means, bring your sister there. I'm going to give you the raw truth, the unadulterated truth and word of God.
So, y'all heard all that, and when you look in the description, when you go to the podcast on rss.com, JWell Podcast, all that information will be disclosed in the description. And if you have any further questions, or I want to extend myself, email me at leewilltheletterj@gmail.com, and I will email her contact person with your information, and we can go from there. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to go to your Play Store, download the Live 365 app, and type in JWell Gospel Radio and listen to gospel music 24/7. I own a radio station, JWell Gospel Music. And if you're an inspiring artist and want your music potentially featured on my radio station or one of my shows, hit me up, leewilltheletterj@gmail.com. All right, so you have 17 chapters in this publication.
You done your homework.
Well, you can't be a journalist if I'm gonna play the part, I need to know the part, right? 17 chapters in this publication, and the last chapter is entitled. I got a big kick out of this. I've been waiting to do this. Take off that other lady's clothes.
Oh yeah. Yes, I know Anna's laughing because she had to read the whole book to write the foreword. Yes, I think that a lot of times people have a tendency. I know I did it. Okay, I'm gonna talk about me and some of the women that I've talked to. Let's say you know how the last girlfriend looked, and you ask those questions about that last girlfriend, or what he liked about that last girlfriend, or how the last girlfriend dressed, or the job of that last girlfriend. So you try to fit into the clothes of that last person or to what you think he likes. And then you are not yourself. You are not your authentic self because you're trying to be somebody else for whatever the reason may be. And that person should love you or want you for who you are. And I've been there, done that. I used to ask one of my boyfriends, remember I told you I go dumb blonde on you real quick. I would say, do you like my hair flipped up or flipped down? would you like to see me in? Because I knew, maybe his last girlfriend had long hair that was flipped up, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Or, so, I'm going to have long hair that's flipped up, you know. Um, well, do you want me to lose about 10 pounds? Because I knew his last girlfriend was skinnier than me, you see.
right, right.
Trying to fit in somebody else's shoes. And that's not real because you are putting on an act to try to get this man, keep this man, make this man fall in love with you. That's a spirit of deceit. And I want somebody who loves me with all my white hair, you know, my mole on my nose, and every little bit of me that may not be a size 4. And I'm tired of playing those games. And so I know a lot of women who have tried to measure up to the woman that they were once in love with. And they're trying to be that person. And so that's why I say take the clothes off from, you know the title better than me. What's the
Yeah,
title?
take off the other lady's clothes.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. But this statement is true for men and women because, in regards to try to be like someone else that we think is more successful or has more going on than us, and God didn't make me to be like, you know, I don't know, Lance Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't make me to be like him. He made me to be who I am. Jay Will, doing what I do. So I'm not trying to look like or be like anybody else. And I wish somebody, my wife would come to me and say, I want you to put this shirt on because my ex used to wear a shirt like this. It's gonna be
Well,
some.
she's not gonna say because you're her ex. That's not how it's done.
Is that not how? I'm out
That's
of the
not
game.
how it's done now.
I'm out of
You
the
should,
game.
yeah, no, that ain't how it's done. It's certain subliminal innuendos.
Ah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
so they crafty with this stuff.
yeah, they crafty with it. And then you like, oh man, so you trying to fit all those subliminal things, and then before you know it, you're not yourself and your authentic self. And see, I call and other people call it too, both sides be the representatives. And then when they get together with the real person, neither one of them know who the other one is. Like you said, men do it too. Men try to impress women as if they got this, that, and whatever. That's old. That's been going on forever. And extra muscles or whatever, because her last boyfriend was built, whatever the situation may be. But a lot of times, those are just the representatives showing up to seal the deal. I don't want the representative. I want the Adam, the man that God has for me. Because remember, a person is not taken out of the representative side.
Ah. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, or I don't want to assume. But what in listening and reading, um, I think your objective is to help people find deliverance via the pathway that God put you on, so that they don't have to go down that same road, but to help them. Am I right on that? Help me
You're
with
right.
your objective.
You're right. At the end, you've been hitting it. I'm telling people to please share. Um, you've been on point since you started this interview. You really have, because if I could spare somebody else from the headaches, because I'm so candid in the book, then that is great. If I can help somebody get delivered from a stage they may be in that's not conducive to who God has called them to be, that's fantastic. If somebody could look at this, even a man, like you said, men understanding the perspective of how women view things or what we go through, if a man could look at that and say, oh my God, I did that, or oh my God, I do that, and he might not even realize he does that, you know what I'm saying? Then he could sit and say, you know what, God, help me in that area. And then I want people to recognize the signs
Ah,
of these spiritual forces and these demons that clip you up, that cause delay in a lot of people relationships are delayed because of comas. and they're gonna have to bring their prayer life to another. I've been in situations where I have been with a man that I was dating, and my prayer was on point, and I saw a seducer spirit coming, and I knew it was trying to take him away. And that seducer spirit was so, 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 so strong. I was fasting, I was praying, the whole 9 yards, and he paid attention to that seducer spirit. So if I can bring awareness to these underlying spiritual forces that are in operation that we don't see with the naked eye, that keep from marriages coming together or marriages staying together or relationships working, if I can bring that awareness, that means I've done something that's helping people get delivered and set free. If somebody can read this and know that I could forgive the people who scraped me through the mud
Yeah.
and still love and still want to be loved, then maybe somebody else could say, I can forgive too. You know, I
Yes,
didn't put
ma'am.
out there what I went through. I didn't just say I went through
Right,
this, I was
right.
beat up, I was this, but you could tell from reading it that, not just my stories, there was some deep stories of some people who have been through some things. So if they can forgive and they can move on and they can still find love, then I can too. So I'm praying that it encourages somebody at the end of the day. And then somebody gets set free and delivered out of it,
Yeah.
you know, from the characteristics they have that are not in line with the divine characteristics and the fruits that God said we should have.
Wow. I have really enjoyed myself with this interview, and we got to leave. I want to do, I want to do another interview with you. I want to talk again because I think that there's some more things that people need to hear. Um, and I want to share this with whoever is listening. While you're going through, the operative word here is through. I'm praying that you're not stuck in it, that you're going through it. But I've had to look, I had to examine myself and make sure that the stuff that I was doing and the way I was acting wasn't coming from a learned pattern of bad behavior. And I think that when we have people who have a learned pattern of bad behavior along with the evil influence come together, it's hard. It makes it really hard on both people. So you have to
Mhm.
do a self examination. If you're in a bad relationship, make sure that you're not in this bad relationship because it's a learned pattern of behavior. Because mama went through
Mm.
it, grandma went through it, her mama
Mm.
went through it. Or if you're an abusive man, make sure you're not abusive because you have a bad pattern of learned behavior. My father was
Mhm.
abusive. My grandfather was abusive. And so I had to examine myself to make sure that my temperament was put in check because I didn't
Mm.
want to continue to fall to this bad pattern of behavior. Ladies
Mhm.
and gentlemen, homies and homettes, you've heard from the doctor. The doctor was in the house tonight. I tell you what, if y'all didn't learn something tonight, y'all ain't been on this podcast. You had to learn something. I invite y'all to go out and get this book. Sister Tara Smith Hughes put it up there. Um,
That's Tara I was talking about, my
Yeah,
sister.
yeah. All right, there you go. Uh, 99. You see it right there.
Hmm.
9210, and then the email, and then the phone number. I left that up for a minute so people can write that down. And this will be up. And if you need additional information, please go to LeeWill, the letter J, at gmail.com. If you want to support this podcast, go to $J Will Podcast and shoot me $2 or $3, whatever you want to do to help me continue to do this. And as a general rule of mine, doing podcasts, putting people on the radio station, I don't charge the artist or the author for none of this stuff. It's done out of my own dime. I pay for all the platforms that I have, but I do take donations. All right, don't wait till you get sick to go to the doctor. Get yourself checked out.
Mm.
A1C, blood pressure, cholesterol. Men, go to the doctor, get your prostate exam checked, all this good stuff, because prostate cancer is taking us out one by one. I promise you it is. And if get some life insurance. Don't leave your family strapped in case something happens to you.
Mhm.
I like, well, I don't eat meat, beef, pork, or chicken, but I know other people that make chicken dinners and selling chicken dinners trying to pay for your funeral. get some life insurance.
Ooh.
If you don't know some people, I know some people. All right, until the next time, may the Lord God bless and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you, and may the Lord God give you peace. So don't hang up. I'm going to end this, but don't hang up, and we're going to close it out.
Can I say the name of the book one more time?
Absolutely. I'll put it up. Hold on. There we go.
God, please wake up my Adam. He is in a coma. And you can get it on Kindle. It's only $3.99. You can get it on Amazon. It's $20. Or you can go to my website at www.verylhowardministries.net. But I prefer you go to Kindle or Amazon because I'm kind of slow about mailing stuff out.
Yeah. Y'all see that? God, please wake up my Adam. And y'all got to read it all the way through till you get to chapter 17, man. Take off them folks' clothes. Mm-hmm. They don't belong to you. Take off the other woman's clothes. He's in a coma.
Yeah.
Men come out the coma. All right. Y'all be safe. Don't hang up.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. For more information about the J. Will podcast, email jwill@leewill, the letter J, @gmail.com.